friend. Welcome. I have a question for you. Are you using Facebook Messenger to get clients yet? If you are not, I am excited to be here with you today because we are going to talk about 5 steps to help you get more clients through Facebook Messenger. I am Sharla Jacobs. I am the founder of this group, Coaches and Holistic Practitioners Who Change the World, and the co-founder of Thrive Academy, where we have had our members earn hundreds of millions of dollars collectively using what they learned here at Thrive in the past 17 years. So a friend recently called us OGs, and I had to go look up what that meant, but I'll take it. It's been a long time. And hey, today I had to make a choice between feeling good and getting out for my hike and run, or putting myself together for you. So I hope you don't mind, because if you're a coach or holistic practitioner, you know how important it is to feel awesome. And so I'm here today with you in full force. And hey, let me know that you are here with a hashtag live, or if you're watching the replay, a hashtag replay. And I would love to know, what questions or concerns do you have about getting clients through Facebook Messenger? So I want to be able to answer your questions during this time together. So let me know in the chat, right here in the chat, what questions do you have about getting clients through Messenger? Hello, Helen. Hello, Preston. So glad you are here. Welcome. All right. So I'm going to talk about a few different angles of using Messenger and how you can use an extraordinarily simple, heart-based method to have these conversations. Because one of the biggest concerns that a lot of people have when it comes to getting clients using Messenger is they think they have to be some weird shwarmy salesperson. And maybe you've received some of those horrible messages where, like, especially it happens on Instagram a lot, where somebody just reaches out and is like, hey, do you want to buy my thing? And that is like going to a party and meeting someone and say, hey, I'm a coach. Do you want to be my client? Like, who does that, right? So if you're not going to do something in a private conversation, why would you do it on Messenger? And maybe you've had experiences like that. Maybe you can even let me know in the chat, like, oh yeah, I can hashtag relate. I can relate. I have had those kinds of experiences where the last thing I wanted to do was do that to other people, right? So just like when you look at some of those really outdated, sleazy sales tactics that they taught to insurance salesmen in the 70s, and some people are still using. Just when you look at that stuff and you go, I can't do that. That is just too hard sales for me. That is not authentic for me. You might look at what happens in Messenger, in your own Messenger inbox, and think, there's no way that I could do that. But here's the good news. You can do it in a way that's fully aligned with your values, and that has you feel good, that has people feel good. As a matter of fact, I cannot even tell you how many awesome, extraordinary people I have met in the chats right here in this group. Because one of the things that I do, me or somebody from my team reaches out when people join this group to say hello and welcome. We're glad you're in the group. Would love to get to know you a little bit. And that's not the exact language, but if you're in the group, then you've probably had a conversation with me. And if you haven't and you'd like to, hey, just let me know. Yeah, Helen says a lot on LinkedIn. So true. So everything that I'm going to share with you today can be applied to any of the platforms. So it can be right here on the Book of Faces. It can be done in Twitter. It can be done in LinkedIn. It can be done in Instagram. It can be done in any of the platforms in the DMs. So this is super, super good. All right, so I'm going to talk about some principles that you need to be thinking about when you're looking at having conversations, getting consults through chat. I'm going to share a 5-step system that will help you do that. For those of you who are already Thrivers, then you know a little bit about this system that I'm going to share, and I think you'll have a fun time with this to see how it applies to the chats. So a couple of things that we need to think about. When we're talking about chat, we are talking about organic social media outreach, organic search. The first question that people have is, where do I find my people? Where do I find my people? And I will tell you, one place you will find your people is to go look in your friend requests. If you went right now and you looked in your friend requests, you probably have some folks in there that you didn't even realize had requested you to be a friend. So you can look there, and what I do is I go and I look at their profile and I think, okay, is this, because it happens a lot, some guy in the military who like missed the fact that I'm married and not available? Or you know what I'm talking about, right? Or is this somebody who is a coach or a holistic practitioner and they're friending me and we have shared values? And you can usually tell by looking at their profile. So if you go over to my profile, for example, my personal profile, you can click on my name and you can see that it's really crystal clear what I do and who I help. And so most people will put some little something that lets you know what they do, where they work. It takes honestly 10 to 15 seconds to check out someone's profile to see if they might be a potential client for you. So I do that little bit of due diligence. I don't just add anybody, but I do that little bit of due diligence just to see if somebody might be a potential client before I add them. And I do not accept all of the friend requests that I get. So that is one way that you can find some people. You can also look at your recommended friend requests. This is a big one. Because if you are a holistic person and you're posting holistic things on your profile, the Book of Faces is going to show you people who are like-minded. They are often going to be people who are interested in the same kind of thing that you are. Or if you are a coach and you're posting about, setting goals, or you're posting about, creating your reality, for example. People who like that kind of thing are going to show up in your feed because the Book of Faces wants you to stay on the Book of Faces. And so they want you to have more friends that are like-minded. So if you're catching what I'm saying here, go ahead and let me know with a hashtag relate. So good to see so many of you here. Thanks for joining me. And I love this question. I'm going to answer this question, Spring, about how do I invite people to chat in Messenger without seeming spammy? 100%. We're definitely going to be talking about that today. So these are a couple of ways to find people. Obviously, if you're a thriver, I think I even have a Facebook Live pinned to the top of our private members only group that shares a bunch more strategies for how to find your people. But these are a couple of things that you can take a look at. And when somebody becomes a new friend, there are a couple of things you can do. You can just reach out and say, hey, saw your profile, added you, or accepted your friend request. Tell me a little bit more about whatever question. Just something like that. That's one way to start a conversation, and it doesn't seem spammy. If they've requested you as a friend, or you requested them and they've accepted, it's a perfectly normal, friendly thing to reach out and say hi. So that's one way to start the conversation. Another way to start the conversation is you post on your own profile and people comment or react. If somebody comments or reacts, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to reach out in the DMs and say, hey, thanks for commenting. Hey, saw your reaction to my recent post. Just say that. Keep it super, super simple, because one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make in the chats, in the DMs, is they seem creepy fast, right? It's like if you use the elements, the 5 elements of hard selling, and you go to the wood element too soon, and I'll be talking about this in a moment, you're gonna seem like a shwarmy salesperson. If you just reach out in a very friendly, natural way, it's going to seem really just normal, engaged kind of a thing. Yeah. So if this makes sense to you, let me know if this makes sense to you, and because I would love to know. And again, any other questions that you come through. So these are some ways to start conversations. Now, I will tell you a couple of little secrets here that will make it more likely that people will comment on your stuff and that you can do those outreaches. So one, if you can optimize your profile so that your banner photo says something about what you do. So you get this little graphic. Again, if you go to my profile, you will see this. On Sharla Jacobs, if you go to my personal profile, you'll see that it's clear what I do, and it's clear what action step I want people to take when they become my friends. So sometimes people just go to my profile and join this group because of that. I will tell you a secret. I'm not going to get into this deeply, but using groups is such a great way to have that warm connection, because if somebody's joining your group, and your group is really designed to help you get clients, like to help you share great content, create connection with people, create community. That's what people want. If you can do that in your group, if you can create a group like that, and there's a lot, I could do like a 4-hour training on just how to use a group to get clients. But if you do have a group, that might be a great next step to invite people into. And what I love is that when people get into your group, it might be like things are really quiet for a while, and then you post one thing that people get excited about and suddenly revives the group. So that can be a really great way to start conversations, is people joining your group. So you don't have to have a group. You can certainly do a lot on your personal profile, but I want to let you know about that. Now, whether you are putting content in your group or you are doing it on your personal profile, I think it's important to have provocative content that really inspires your ideal clients to engage. I would rather see you write one post a week that is really well done than try to do something just to get it done, 3 or 5 days a week. So I'd rather have you have one thing that's done really, really well. Good content really makes a difference. So making sure that you are posting great content that your potential clients are likely to see, and that one of the things that's really important is make sure that you're doing something that creates credibility, either on your banner and in your content, ideally. It's also important to do personal posts, like to share about your life. I've been really liking doing stories about my life and just trying to be, share a little bit about my life. I probably should document more, honestly, but I'll get there, right? But if I can do one story a day, I feel good about that. So when we start a conversation, so these are some things that you can do on your profile and in your group, but when you start a conversation, it's super important that you use the 5 elements of hard selling. This is the 5-step system that I promised you. So those of you who are thrivers, you are crystal clear aware of the 5 elements. And I actually would love to know if you can tell me what's your favorite element? What's the one you use the most? And maybe what's the element that when you came to the Client Attraction Summit, you realized was missing the most? What's the element you realized was missing the most? I'm going to go briefly through the 5 elements, and I'm going to talk about how to use these in the chat. So the first element is the fire element, which is to connect. I'm not going to be able to go deeply into this whole framework. Actually, if you are new here and you don't yet have a copy of our book, The Art of Attracting Clients, and you want to learn more about this system, just write book in the chat, and I'll get in touch with you and make sure you get access to the book, because I do go deep. We go deep into the book. So what is the fire element? It's all about just showing up in connection. This is authentic connection. There's no agenda here. This is that outreach, like, hey, saw your comment. Hey, thanks for liking my post. Something like that. Just like a genuine, like, hey, and see if they respond. And when people respond, then you can start that conversation. So now we get into the earth element, which is showing up in service. And so showing up in service using the earth element, this is just really like finding out a little bit more about this person and what had them like your post, like what, did they have an insight? What, asking them something that just feels really natural. Like, hey, I saw that you liked my post. What was, what did you like about it? Or what did that spark in you? Something really simple, just to start a natural conversation, just as if you were in a one-on-one conversation and somebody, say you did a talk at an event and somebody came up to you after, you might ask, like, what was your biggest takeaway from what I shared? So think of that, like when you're sharing your content, that people are engaging with your content because there's something that's interesting about them. So about that. So what's interesting about that? So we have fire, connect, earth, serve. Metal is acknowledge. This is where we actually do our very best to really see the greatness in the person that we're talking with. A lot of times, just taking a moment to go to their profile to see a little bit about what they're doing or a post they did recently and acknowledging that would be great. I personally love to ask people about their work, because I know as a coach or a holistic practitioner, your work is so deeply personal to you and it's so important to you and it matters so much. It's like a part of your soul when you're sharing about your work, right? So I love to know a little bit about the work you do. And, I am like somebody who always has a coach, always has a holistic practitioner that I'm working with, usually multiple practitioners and multiple coaches, depending on the things that I'm looking for. And so I really value learning about different modalities and about different ways that you're helping people. That is really fun for me. So it's a great question to ask. And then when someone shares about what they do, I get to acknowledge them and acknowledge something about their passion for their work. Sometimes people will start sharing with me, and I think a lot of this is really the space that I hold, the energetic space that I hold in a conversation. They will share with me things that they're excited about, things that they're struggling with. And if I just keep showing up in service and acknowledgement, and then I use the next element, which is the water element of curiosity. When I use these three elements in a conversation, because the chat is a conversation, right? We have to realize it should feel natural. When I do that, people tend to lean in. They tend to want to continue the conversation. And then last but not least, at some point in the conversation, it makes sense to invite them to some next step. Now, I'm going to give you my greatest recommendation for a next step. Are you ready for it? Lean in. Are you ready for it? It is to book a consult. Like if I could design your business in any way possible, at a minimum. Now, I will say this. There's some of you you are meant to be transformational leaders. That's what you want to do. You want to speak to groups. You want to make a difference with large groups of people. And this still applies to you, right? This still applies to you, because no matter what you do, no matter how big you get, you're always going to be having conversations with potential clients. And but for most of you, even if you're just starting out, or even if you've been in business for years, if you don't have enough clients yet, I want to invite you to focus your energy and your time and your resources and everything you do to attract clients to book consults, to book more consults. They're sometimes called strategy sessions, consultations, discovery sessions. But to book a free or low cost consultation where you have a conversation with a potential client and they can sign up with you for a package or a program, a package of sessions at a minimum. By the way, if you don't have a copy yet of our consult formula, I'm happy to send that to you as a gift. You can just drop the word consult and I'll get that to you. Me or somebody from my team will reach out and get that to you. So the next element, how do you ask for that consultation? The next element literally it's called the wood element. Give them a choice. I didn't get into the theory of Chinese medicine and how these 5 elements show up. Just quickly, just a little bit of background about me. I was a licensed acupuncturist and a coach back in 2002. And the long story short, fell on my face, hired a mentor, still fell on my face for 2 months. And when I finally had this idea of how to take my understanding of the 5 elements of Chinese medicine, that was how I was treating my clients and patients with the 5 elements. When I finally had this insight about that, I asked myself, how are sales present in those conversations? And it was huge insight, huge realization, huge download. And that's where this system of the 5 elements of heart selling comes from. We've been teaching this model for almost 17 years. I used it in my own practice back then to triple my client base. I went from barely getting by at $1,800 a month to having a $5,400 month within 30 days. and continued to grow and grow and grow. And now my husband and I own a multi-million-dollar business where we have taught thousands, like tens of thousands of coaches and holistic practitioners how to attract more clients. And one of the main things we are known for is this 5 elements of hard selling system. We go deep, deep, deep into this in our programs. And, the book is one resource. And then, of course, the Client Attraction Summit, which is coming up really soon. So the wood element is about give them a choice. Again, not getting into the deep theory of it, but give them a choice, some kind of a yes or no choice. And at some point in the conversation, after you have connected, you've served, you've acknowledged, you've been curious, and there is a natural place where they seem to be leaning in, they seem to be interested, you ask permission, which actually, for those of you who don't know, permission is metal. It's the metal element. You ask permission to share a resource, share something that will help them with what they're looking for, with what they've said they are looking for. And that is when you invite them into a free or low-cost consultation. So this is a pretty simple formula. There's a lot of nuance to it. There's a lot of detail to it. But when you can use this formula to attract and enroll your clients, I gave you some ways to find some people today. And I gave you some tools and steps, these 5 steps: fire, earth, metal, water, wood, connect, serve, acknowledge, be curious, give them a choice. Those 5 steps in the DMs, you can get clients through chat. So I would love to know, what was your biggest insight, your biggest takeaway from today's Facebook Live? I should say Book of Faces. They don't like it when we say their name here, right? I don't know why. But what was your biggest takeaway? I would love to know. If you have any questions or any concerns, like Sharla, you said this and that doesn't feel right, I want to hear them, because this is all about you getting clients in a way that is 100% aligned with who you are. 100% aligned with who you are. We would never ask you to do any kind of shwarmy, weird sales tactics that don't feel right to you. So if something's feeling off to you, there is either you haven't seen the template for how it can work, or we need to shift some beliefs. Because if you're relating to something like having a conversation with a potential client in the chats, maybe you have a fear about somebody, coming back and being rude or ghosting you or whatever it is. And so if we can shift that belief, then we have an opportunity there. I can't tell you, I can't tell you that how many times I hear somebody feeling afraid of something happening, like feeling afraid of being rejected, right? And if we actually start to really look and show up in service, it's like, if you kind of remove the meaning, if you uncollapse the meaning that means anything about you, and instead can show up in service to the people who need your help and your love and your support and your very special sauce, the way that you do it, the way you share your gifts, then we have a huge opportunity that we're missing if we're going to let that belief have an impact. Make sense? So it's definitely worth investigating and going under the surface. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to say thank you and have a wonderful day. I will see you right here in the group. I might see you in the chats. Feel free to reach out to me. And if you've asked me with the word consult, or you have asked for the book, I will respond, and either me or somebody on my team will make sure that you get that link as promised. All right, everyone, make it a great day. This is Sharla Jacobs signing off, because your people are waiting for you. Talk soon. Bye-bye.